What's up, beautiful people? Today let's talk about a few important points that you need to know when purchasing a house. Let's talk about what an earnest money deposit is. Let's talk about how much it costs to close your deal. Let's talk about closing costs. Let's talk about an appraisal. Let's talk about how much that costs, and let's talk about a home inspection. Let's get to it. Alright guys, so let's talk about a few important points throughout the home purchasing process. Let's talk about the first one, earnest money deposit. The earnest money deposit will be sent to escrow. Once that happens, then you officially open up escrow. The earnest money deposit shows good faith to the seller. This is basically a deposit, usually about 1%, and it can always be negotiated as well. But this makes sure, this ensures the seller that the buyer is actually very serious in moving on with the transaction. This money is in escrow. It's put in the escrow account, and you can use this money towards down payment, for example, or closing costs. So let's get into closing costs. What is closing costs? All right, you guys, so let's talk about closing costs when purchasing a property. Closing costs is usually estimated to be around, I would say, 2.5% to 3% of the purchase price. And closing costs involves a bunch of things, right? Once you're in contract, once you're in the loan process, a lender will provide you with what is called a loan estimate. This is an estimate of what closing costs is going to be. There you'll see things such as if the lender's charging you an origination fee, if there's points involved, also if there's an impound account. That an impound account is basically a fluff that a lender charges for upfront, and they usually collect about 6 months of insurance, 6 months of taxes. It's just a pillow to make sure that that money is already in there. There's also interest that's collected up front. There's wire fees, there's notary fees, there's transfer tax fees. There's a bunch of fees involved in closing costs. Like I said, once you're in contract, your lender will provide you with a loan estimate, and it's only an estimate once we open up escrow. And we know what the exact fees are going to be. Escrow is another fee that they do charge as well. That's part of closing costs. On your CD, which is called a closing disclosure, that's where you'll have a very accurate number of what closing costs is going to be. So in a nutshell, closing costs is anywhere between 2.5% to 3% of the purchase price. And again, this can always be negotiated with the seller as well. When you're buying a property, you can negotiate closing costs, or your lender can bump up your interest rate a little bit and give you a credit for closing costs. But not to worry, I'll go ahead and bring on a lender so we can go over line by line what closing costs is going to be. That's going to be a ton of value for you guys. I'll do that on one of these videos coming up. So we talked about closing costs, we talked about an earnest money deposit. There's also an appraisal that needs to happen. You as the buyer, you have to pay for the appraisal. It's usually depending on the loan program that you are going with, depending on the product, whether it's FHA, VA, or conventional. It's usually an appraisal runs around $400 to $700. Okay, that's another cost there that you need to keep in mind. Aside from the appraisal, there's also a home inspection. I highly recommend that you inspect your property before you buy it. Contract a licensed home inspector. Me as a realtor, I have great relationships with home inspectors. I can definitely recommend one to you. But if you have someone, if you know of anyone, or if you have a preferred home inspector, highly recommend that you do a home inspection. And a home inspection ranges anywhere from $250 to $600. So hopefully this video helps you out. We talked about costs, some costs that are involved when you purchase a property. If you guys have any questions, as always, hit the comments below, and I'm going to continue to bring in more content with lenders, with different people involved in a real estate transaction. And all of this is to help you guys out and to help you make a decision, and just to all around be of service to you guys. Anyway, all the best. Continue to enjoy your day. Life is short. Go after it. Peace out.